we're going to be doing a brief overview of what it is we offer and how to get bullion actually into your registered accounts, whether it's TFSAs, RSPs, LIRAs, LIFs, RIFs, RESPs, all that good stuff. It is eligible for ownership of physical bars and coins. No longer are these types of things cumbersome or hard to store, or do they present any logical problems that maybe you've heard about or we could discuss along the way. We're going to teach you that, in fact, a physical bullion market is among the most, if not single most, liquid market in the world, and it is ripe with opportunity for investors to come along and hopefully diversify their holdings. So, as I said earlier when we got started, my experience in this particular arena stems back as far as 2003 and 4, when I joined another firm and started to learn all about precious metals and get an overview of what to expect in this industry. And what I realized very quickly was that everybody through the 90s and into the early 2000s had a very quick mentality change from what was basically a physical market back as just a short time ago as the late 80s, early 80s, and certainly the 70s, into this mentality of paper everything. And it kind of starts around the early 90s when we see the introduction of paper banking, more commonly known as Interact transactions. So we switched to plastic, and it gives us the opportunity to be very efficient with our banking, and along with it, ushers in a new change in mentality, and thus we get the era of the dot-com through the 90s, the subsequent NASDAQ crash of the early 2000s, and now everything has been mixed into one big gigantic pot. But what I have learned throughout the 17 years that I've been here is that history repeats itself, and it does so quite frequently in very predictable cycles. And for gold and silver, this is an important point to make, because as we go through this presentation, there is some things that I'm certain as a potential investor you'd like to know about gold and silver. And so we will try to keep it brief, but it's important to note that there are some building blocks which I like to discuss. And you can write down questions. And if there's a question that cannot wait, Rob, right beside me over to stage, your stage right, I think, or my left, is going to be keeping track of people putting up their hands to ask questions. Please don't hit it unless it's a question that cannot wait. Otherwise, if you would be kind enough to just hold the question, memorize it, or write it down while the presentation is ongoing, you can see us, but we can't see you, so there's no harm in doing just that. So without that, we will start with this overview. We're going to run through these 6 points and basically just cover the gamut of how to get excited about this because of the opportunity, and then subsequently how the account works. But before we do, I want to make it very clear that not a lot of people understand the importance of precious metals. And to that end, I would say there is a very significant study done by Ibbotson and Associates in the late stages of the last decade, around 2008-9. And what they did was they looked at over 40 years of data in stock market activity, in investing activity, all anonymous data from the big major institutions. And essentially what they wanted to do was to see how correlated and non-correlated certain asset groups were, to find out if, in fact, planners, advisors, bankers, people you trust to help you with your money had been diversifying their portfolios correctly. And lo and behold, that 40 years of data, what it proved to them or showed to them was that, in fact, what we thought was a well-diversified portfolio with, say, the traditional ownership of stocks, bonds, and cash, and of course stocks can come in the form of mutual funds and other types of funds, was in fact not the case. That 40 years of data taught them that the most negatively correlated asset class to stocks, bond, and cash was in fact silver and gold. And more importantly, it was this data that led a lot of firms, similar to the one where I used to be and now here at Delta Harbor, to really take hold of that and bring this to the mainstream. And that's really what part of this is for us. It's the enjoyment of working with clients every day, but also introducing the mainstream and having them share this story, which is just an incredible story to be told. So with that in mind, next we're going to take a look at who we are, and quite frankly, we are about service. Delta Harbor goes out of their way, as most of our clients will tell you, to service you as much as we can. If that means you need a call once a day, that's what you get. If it means you need to hear from us once a week, that's what you get. If you need help making that purchase or making that sell order, we're here to do that. If you need help understanding the markets, we will connect you with the people that we deem to be experts in particular arenas of your choice and get you in touch with them. But again, Delta really stands for service. And we believe that physical assets, hard assets such as gold and silver, have to be in this day and age, and especially moving forward into the next decade with the uncertainty in the world that we experience and all of the imbalances and the amount of debt and all of the things that are changing about our society. We believe gold and silver have to be part of everyone's portfolio. How much? Well, that's up to you. We'll discuss it through the presentation, but I think a good portion of maybe anywhere from 10 to 30% of your holdings should be in precious metals, depending on how comfortable you feel with them. And I will say that as we move through this presentation, what we do, what we do here is basically provide clients with education. So my main goal is just to do these webinars and to speak with people constantly to help them understand the arena like I do, to understand how it is we function and what it is we do, and exactly how they can become experts like us. And so essentially, although I don't want Delta to go by the wayside, I would love to see everyone that's paying attention here and looking to open up an account become experts. And that's something that we can offer and help you with. In addition to that, you can see at the bottom of this particular slide that we do offer a number of different accounts, and we'll go through those at another time. Today is about registered accounts in particular with our partner in this Quest trade. And it's important to recognize that when it's all said and done, no matter what, for the average person, a registered account is the best way to go. Anecdotally, if you want to look at it from a retirement perspective, having that registered account, taking advantage of the tax-free savings, taking advantage of the tax incentives within an RSP, a spousal RSP, so on and so forth, it's so crucial to knowing what is going to be the best plan moving forward for you, especially in retirement. And so with that, I want to remind people that planning means a lot, in that if you're not already doing it, it should be something that you are doing. I know we had some poll questions planned, and I think Robert's going through them, but one thing I always ask people is, do you know where your money is? Could you comfortably tell me or name one of the existing funds within your portfolio? And that's an open question because most people can. But if I was to say, could you name 50% or more of the companies in that fund? Could you? And maybe we're going to have a poll question come up in a minute that asks that. We'll see if anybody actually can do that. But most people, when I do these seminars or webinars now with COVID, they cannot. So without further ado, let's move on a little forward here. And the poll's active. All right, so that first poll is active. That's great. Please submit your answers. They are only going to be seen by us. We will only share the results, so nobody will know what you said or what your answer was. When we look at our partners, it's very important to understand that 17 years in this business has afforded us the luxury of expert partners. When we look at the registered accounts, you'll see there we work with Quest Trade, and then the other two you might not have heard of before, but when we store our product, we're going to talk a little bit about storage, vaulted storage. It is safe, secure, 100% under wraps, and it's your product in your name, allocated to you, that you can touch, see, and hold. It is tangible product. And our partners there are not exclusively just those three. We work with many in the industry, but those are three of the big ones that we work with in some of our accounts here. And so we get that. And so we have the results there from the first poll, Rob?
Yep. There we go.
All right. How many people said that they could name 50% of the companies in one of their funds?
Only half of the people.
Oh, that is usually not the case. I guarantee you, if you were in this room, you would not be able to do it. 99% of people never, ever are able to answer 50%. So well done to those that can. It means you are paying attention. It means you do have an idea where your money is. But in this day and age, investing has become convoluted. Paperwork has become convoluted. Account management has become convoluted, and rightfully so. If I was making a commission for managing your account, I'd want it to be difficult as well. You may have recently seen the ads running from Quest Trade. This is about self-direction. This is about teaching a person that it's okay to self-direct their wealth and to become their own experts. And really, that's the mentality that we have here as well. Show a person how to be an expert in this particular arena, and they will be successful. All right, when we look at investing in precious metals, we really want to do a basic overview of a few different points. And there is a number of things we could discuss during the day, but those 5 points that you see there on that slide are really it. We want to go through those and just really quickly touch base on each one of them today and get a better understanding. Because I'm sure some of you, as much as you'd like to know how to get gold and silver in your registered account, there are a number of you who are here today trying to figure out why gold and silver, what's so important about gold and silver, and what is it that I'm missing about this gold and silver market? Well, let's touch base on those things just a little bit. Now, when we look at precious metals, we think about a number of things. But as I said earlier in the presentation, there are 4 basic building blocks that we look at that have repeated themselves over and over and over again. And around 2005, I started writing this basic news report or weekly document called the Precious Metals Advisor. And it went out to my client base initially, then it went out to my firm's entire client base, and then it went out to many firms who bought the subscription and sent it out to their clients as well. And that day and age is now gone. That information is free for our clients, and we still do it. You'll see on our website, you can go and look at articles and things of that nature. But when I started really delving into precious metals and understanding the market, I created basically 4 building blocks that I saw repeated over and over and over again. And they were some sort of currency devaluation. In this case, when I started doing the seminar 10 years ago or 12 years ago, it would have been just the US dollar. Now it's the world global currency stage. Geopolitics, inflation, supply and demand. And those 4 basic building blocks are part of every single bull market that we've experienced in the last 100 years in gold and silver. And believe it or not, this is a brand new market. It started in 2004. There was a little bit of a lull between 12 and 18, but there have already been 4 climactic moments in 04, 6, 8, and 2011, which you can see on any chart of silver or gold. And we expect that there are going to be many, many more. And you are in the middle of a brand new phase in this bull market, one which I think will repeat very easily what we've already seen in this bull market. So we're going to talk about these 4 building blocks. And as I said, over 100 years, 4 major bull markets prior to this one, the last one in the 1970s, and all 4 of these fundamentals were in place and working to support the market. Now, when we talk about those 4 fundamentals, we talk about currency devaluation, and it's probably one of the big ones because it's easy to understand through headlines and through what you read that the world is printing a lot of money right now. And generally speaking, if we were doing a long-term technical webinar about silver or gold, we'd be talking about the amount of money that gets printed hand over fist. And it's around the world, in particular, the G20 is of great interest to me. And understanding this means that you understand there is a serious threat of inflation setting into the marketplace. And to understand inflation is to understand gold and silver. If we have the threat of inflation historically over the last 100 years, gold and silver have gone much, much higher. And if we just look back to the 1970s, inflation got to double digits. We had mortgage rates in the 20% range, 23% range. Imagine what would happen right now if, in fact, they went up that high. And interest rates in a savings account, imagine back in the late 70s, early 80s, we're at 12, 13, 14%. Interest rates had to be that high because inflation was also at the street level 10 to 15%. We had a very, very inflationary period. And since that point in time, we've done a number of things. One, we've allowed our governments to unfortunately pull the wool over our eyes in the way they measure inflation. They'll tell you street level and healthy inflation is supposed to be 2 separate things, but they'll tell you that their data tells them good inflation should be around 2%, and that should be clipping along. You'll have even heard more recently the talk of deflation probably. And of course, great example of deflationary situation is Japan. So again, you can look no further than the counterparts within our G20, Japan being the perfect example for that. But right now, inflation is a serious threat. And along with all this money printing, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, inflation presents and rears its ugly head every single day. Just go shopping, buy a new car, go look at real estate. Most inflationary asset right now you can imagine. And we won't get started on real estate today. I'm not here to pick on it because there's a lot I could say. But this is about diversification and hard assets, gold and silver. And they perform very well when there are threats of money printing around the world. Like in the 70s, we saw the amount of money in circulation in the US double over a span of 10 years. And the prices of gold and silver rose 2,000 to 3,000% during that period of time. During that time, we saw inflation. We also saw geopolitical instability. In the 70s, we had Russia-Afghanistan war. We had the Iran Contra hearings. We had all kinds of big, huge geopolitical threats, but none of them were domestic. And if we look forward to 2021, now we're talking about all kinds of geopolitical threats from war and all the types of things that come with it, to instability regionally, economically within parts of the world, sovereign debt problems, whole countries going bankrupt, Cyprus, Greece, the list goes on. People buy gold and silver, even at the bank level, to calm the threat of those fears, to protect their foreign currencies, to protect their governments, to protect their right to survive in this day and age. And we don't hear about it. So gold and silver is working very much in the background when we talk about geopolitical and financial risk. And the last is supply and demand. And that we'll save for just a couple of minutes because it's a very, very important point that we want to discuss. But when we're looking at money, I don't know if we can see my mouse here. We can see it. Okay, great. I can see my mouse moving on the stage. In terms of sending home the point about the money supply, this is a chart taken from the Federal Reserve of the US, which shows all of the money supply put together in one chart. This is digital and physical dollars, and the rise in the amount available to the public or that are in circulation publicly around the world. And what you see here is that it takes hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. This chart will never go back far enough to create around $800 billion worth of circulating money here in 2008. That's at the transition between Bush and Obama. Between Obama, Trump, and now Biden, we've taken what took hundreds of years to create, and we've taken it from 800 billion in circulation worldwide to $5.5 trillion. It's an amount you can't even fathom in your head. You can't even tell me or help to understand what it looks like. But suffice to say, if you're looking at it in terms of dollars and cents, it would take a long time to do away with all of that debt that we've created. And this is the amount of money that has to be printed in order to manage that debt. So we are part of an experiment, a big, big experiment. We are guinea pigs in that experiment. And of course, in talking about gold and silver, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about performance. And it's important to point out, most people don't realize this. When you are dealing with gold and silver, most people don't understand. They have a track record that even in the last 14, 15 years, they have averaged very well. And Rob's put together a chart here for us showing movement on a yearly basis of both US and Canadian in gold. And what we know from this chart is that although there is a couple of down years, we've seen pretty much every year that gold has averaged 10 to 12% cumulatively overall. So that's an asset that when held long term would be averaging 10 to 12%, except for right now during this cycle, if we put it into our registered accounts, we're looking at gold performing a whole lot better than that. In fact, last year it was up 25%, the year before 18%. It's in a new cycle and developing. Its little brother silver, also 10 to 12% per year since 2006. If we go back further, it'd be even higher, but it's been performing extremely well. And certainly you can see from the chart, it does have more volatility than gold. This is how, as an investor, you might determine taking a bit more risk and not having as much gold in your portfolio if you're looking for that, or balancing the portfolio a little differently. We always get the question, how much gold, how much silver should I put in? But silver is also averaged 10 to 12%, and that's over the long term. Remember, the most important aspect of these two charts, both gold and silver, is that we do not day trade. This is physical precious metals. This is not meant to do what paper does. This is an investment you buy, you hold on to, and you get buying and selling opportunities in even a heated market year of maybe 1 or 2 times. And that's basically all that you get. So when we're investing in precious metals, we want to ask why. And essentially, we've talked about a couple of things here with respect to the building blocks, the currency devaluation, the geopolitics, inflation, and supply and demand. But there's another reason. We asked why physical. That takes it a step further to say, hey, Darren, listen, I've been looking at investing, but I own a stock. I own Agnico Mines. I own Barrick. I own Silver Wheaton. I own AG, whatever it is, Silver Wheaton. But the understanding of this market means that we have to understand that there is a significant difference between paper and physical. The physical side of things, which we are involved in, and remember, we can choose to be involved in either. We purposely choose to have physical, is very much different from the paper side of things. And we need no greater reminder than what we saw in the last week and a half with GameStop and Wall Street bets and silver squeeze and all these hashtags that have been going out public. And that GameStop stock moving up and down to understand that halts, businesses going out of business, bankruptcies, governments deciding to put the kibosh on certain types of trading. All of these things are aspects that you have to deal with in the paper market. When we're dealing with physical, we don't have that counterparty risk. Nobody's going to embezzle the company. Nobody's going to create an Enron or Bre-X or Nortel or WorldCom or any of those companies that have been defunct over the last 2 decades. There is no third-party counter risk in gold and silver, and that's important to note. It is tangible. Although many of you won't understand or have reasons for wanting to hold physical gold and silver in your dwelling or, let's say, in a safety deposit box, many of you will open up accounts, and when you do, it is physical product. You can go and see it. It's tangible. It has dual functionality. If you want to pass it on to the next generation of family, to the kids, whatever the case may be, you have the ability to do just that. So that's important to remind yourselves of that. It's another reason we love having tangible product. No management fees. That's a big one. When you look at your mutual funds, I'll bet you have no idea what you're paying. The average mutual fund in Canada docks around 2 to 3% per year on average in fees. And that's whether you win, lose, whether you get advice or no advice. At the end of that year, they are taking their 2 to 3%. And that could sometimes be for nothing at all. I certainly don't know how many of you have a vested interest in being experts in any particular arena. But when it comes down to this, you can self-direct. There are no management fees. We don't charge any additional fees for us being experts or for you talking to us once, twice, 365 times a year. There is no additional fees for that. And then, of course, unlike paper gold, physical gold won't go to zero. That's the same for silver. 5,000-year track record, and it is certainly something that we pride ourselves on knowing and being part of, because what we've allowed the last couple of decades to do is get us away from that mentality. Wasn't long ago that Uncle Sam, Pete, Bob, whoever your uncle is, or grandpa, or even your dad, might have had a silver coin in their pocket, maybe even a gold coin, and felt like Jack the Lad. It was normal. When I was younger in the 70s, I got a bit of an investment account open for me, and what went in it? 30 silver 1-ounce coins. And that was quite commonplace to have that. I have a bag of them at home. The kids still look through them all the time. They collect them, they own them, and I'm passing that knowledge on to the kids so that they'll pass it on to theirs. This is just a reawakening back into the mainstream. Now, when you look at precious metals, one thing we love to do is before we engage, we know that there is a difference between what you see in the paper price when you go home at night and hear the news, turn on the radio, turn on your computer and see what the price of gold and silver is, and what you pay for that physical bar. There is a difference, because when you're seeing that paper price, we call it the spot price, that's from what we call the futures market. That's where it's traded during the day around the world in whatever daytime hours, whether it's in New York, London, Sydney, Australia, or maybe overnight in Hong Kong. They are dealing in spot futures. And so that is the paper price. So when it gets quoted, just as a guide for everyone around the world to know what the basic paper price of silver and gold is, that's the reference price they use. When you're buying a bar, you have to take into consideration that there are a handful of things that have to get included in the price of that bar. Somebody has to make that bar. In this case, the slide shows the Royal Canadian Mint 100-ounce bar. By the way, that bar, if you were holding it in your hands, is almost 7 pounds heavy. So if you had 1,000 ounces, you'd be carrying around your silver in a wheelbarrow or a little kid. This is the weight of a little kid. It's not light to have, but that product right there, you can see broken down on the slide, shows the paper price at $26.50, which is roughly where we are right now. Fabrication, the cost of making the bar from the Royal Canadian Mint, that adds 70 cents, and it varies from fabricator to fabricator. This happens to be very high quality product, and its purity is 4 nines, but all silver that we hold is a purity level of 3 nines or higher, and the same with gold. Then you have that dealer premium added to the fabrication. Everybody's entitled to make a little bit of income for themselves. In our case, 81 cents is what we make on that particular product, and it varies up and down depending on supply and demand. And then it gives us a total per ounce, 28.01. We translate that into a 100-ounce bar, which is just 28.01 times 100. And then we convert it to Canadian, and you get your Canadian posted price for that 100-ounce bar. So when you are on a website and you do see the Canadian price of something, or on our website and you see spot plus $1.23, all you have to do is find the spot price, and then you add $1.23 to it, and that's roughly going to be your landed price per ounce for that product that we're offering. So hopefully that's an easy way to understand. And again, you'll be getting a copy of this presentation, so you can always go back and refer to it, but hopefully that helps you to understand. Now, the other part about this is understanding that there are numerous products that can be put into a registered account. You can put in gold and silver products. You can see from the slide that there are various types. On the gold side, everything from half-ounce, 1-ounce coins, right up to 1 ounce, 10 ounce, 1 kilo, and 100-gram bars. On the silver side, when available, we have 1-ounce silver maples, which is a very common coin. And you also have the 10-ounce and 100-ounce bars. In addition to that, and my colleague Rob just passed this to me, you can see from the camera. Hopefully this is okay, Rob. You can see it on your side. All right. I'll put it a little closer. You can see that, and you can see how a bar looks. That's the 10-ounce bar from Royal Canadian Mint. Comes packaged in the plastic. You can see it has a serial number on it, has purity levels on it, tells you who the manufacturer is, and the fact that it's sealed, that just provides a little extra protection. Not all bars are sealed, and when it comes to silver, recognize that unless you're a collector and you're collecting numismatics, which we don't deal in, we don't care what condition your product is in. If it happens to tarnish a little bit, that's normal. It happens. It's not going to deter from the value of the metal. We buy and sell for the value of the metal, not the condition of the metal. So those are the types of products, and you'll see there one important little acronym, which is LBMA. That's the London Bullion Market Association, and that is the industry standard, which is in your presentation that's coming to you afterwards, a clickable link for you to see. That is the industry standard, which gives us the standard criteria for what a bar must look and feel like. And if a fabricator like the Royal Canadian Mint, the US Mint, or any of the other mints around the world find themselves on what is called the good delivery list with the LBMA, they're good enough for us. It means they've met or exceeded our expectations in terms of the consistency for weight, the consistency for purity, and the consistency for business standards, which means they are a good company to work with. They've met or exceeded that expectation. We only offer LBMA product. Now, registered accounts. Through this, you've become slightly better acquainted with gold and silver so far. A bit of the fundamentals, a bit about how to become an expert, our service, and all those things. Now let's just talk directly about the registered accounts themselves. Our partner in this, Questrade. So when you log in and create an account, how do you do this? You need to have an account with Questrade, and we'll show you how to do that. We'll tell you more about it in a minute. But they are plugged into this system over here, and if you'll see, I think you can see my mouse hopefully moving here, Rob.
Yep.
Okay, you'll see that Delta, through its expertise and its connections, is partnered with Questrade. Dillengage over here, DG, which is the provider or wholesaler of the bullion, and then IDS, which is the storage facility. And this pegs you, if I was going to put you right up here, you control all of this. This is not an account which we have the right to make changes on. This is an account which you control. You tell us, based on the feedback we give you about the markets, what or if there is anything you want to change or do with your account. We also want to let you know that this is completely overseen by IROC. which is the Investment Industry Regulatory Organization of Canada, which is kind of like the federal branch that oversees physical commodities. And that means we get audits, we get all the regular stuff you would expect to keep us in check and make sure that everything we're doing is above board and presents another level of safety and a standard. If you're working with somebody that doesn't have that, run away, because they should have this in place and it should be working for them. Now, the last point on that slide before we move on, your metals are insured. When they are in a registered account, you're going to ask the question, somebody out there is probably thinking it already, your metals are 100% insured and underwritten. In fact, Lloyd's of London underwrites that. You're going to see that in a minute, but that is one-to-one insurance. If there was an act of Mother Nature, vandalism, theft, anything of risk, there would be a complete replacement ounce by ounce of your metals. So there's nothing to be concerned about in terms of that, and that storage facility is 100% secure. It's a wonderful facility. It's accessible by you. It's very neat to be able to go there and actually see your metal, but we can talk about that another time. Now, when it comes to registered accounts, you're wondering what type of registered accounts. Well, there's a highlight of what the types of accounts are without going into them. I want to make note of one thing, the tax-free savings account, which is right at the top. That's a priority for me. If you don't, and you're thinking about investing and don't already have a TFSA, it's capital gains free. You can invest, put all of that 76,500 if you're fully eligible for the total amount into a TFSA right now. And if silver was to go a moonshot higher into the $50, $60, $70 range, as we think it's going to over the next couple of years, then you would in fact be eligible for none, no taxes whatsoever. That's completely yours. You can take it off the table, turn that profit into something else, put it into other accounts, or just reinvest it in the TFSA. So if you don't already have that vehicle working for you, you're able to open it up, and you can open one up for your spouse, for yourself, for a family member, and you can contribute to that TFSA. Doesn't matter where that contribution comes from. That TFSA, once it's open and contributed, it's tax-free. So it doesn't matter who makes that contribution. The other types are there. We're well versed in opening them up and doing all of that. And you can also expect that if you have a LIRA or a locked-in type of account or something that you're not sure about and you want to add silver and gold to it, it's just sitting there doing nothing at the other end at some other institution, we can absolutely help you with that 100%. It's not a problem, and we're more than likely going to be able to get something into that account for you, bring it and migrate it over to Questrade with Delta, and yourself at the helm driving this every step of the way. And I guess basically we want to look at how it works. We promised, as the title of the seminar said, that there were 3 easy steps. And in opening up an account, it really is 3 easy steps. If from today you left this webinar feeling as though this was for you or wanted to set up an appointment, you can choose to do it with us, or you can do it on your own and then just send us the information. Opening up a Questrade account, we're going to give you the link to that. Simple. Go to the website. You'll see it in a second. It's very easy. You just choose and click on the type of account that you like, and you open it up. In addition to that, you're going to have what's called the dealer authorization form. So that basically is just the form. It's pretty straightforward. There's no fine print or anything of that nature. And that form connects you to us and your Questrade account so that we can facilitate the purchase and selling of that precious metals on your behalf. So those 2 things are how we open the account, and then we fund the account. As we said just a few minutes ago, you can either do that with existing money from another institution. We will help you do that. It's a very simple process. It's just a couple of steps, or it can be new funds. You could set it up as a bill payment option and put it right into your RRSP or your TFSA directly from your bank account. It's not hard to do, and we can help you with that as well, or you can self-direct and do it yourself. It's about a 50-50 split in terms of those using the self-directed method or those getting our help every step of the way. But either way, I want you to know we're always happy to be on the phone with you, and we're always happy under normal circumstances without all this COVID to do it for you in the office with you right here beside us. And then lastly, the 3rd step of the 3 easy steps is make your purchase. Let's have fun. We'll talk about the balance of gold and silver. We'll talk about the marketplace. We'll reiterate some of the finer points. We'll talk about the building blocks. And then you will get to make a decision on the bar types and how much of each product you want in your account. Do I want 100-ounce silver bars and 1-ounce gold bars? Do I want a 10 ounce gold bar? And that's it. I'm happy with that. We'll talk about reasons to have smaller bars, and we'll also talk about pricing differences. So these are additional bits of expertise that we'll give to you and guidance. We'll be here every single step of the way. 1, 2, 3, 3 easy steps. And I think that in all takes probably roughly around 15 to 20 minutes, maybe a half hour at most, to complete the entire process. And as I said, today after the presentation, Rob, I believe we're going to have some slots open for those that want to book and speak more, and certainly have the opportunity to speak on the phone one-to-one. You can book a 30-minute consultation anytime you want on our website or through our website. And if today isn't a good day, certainly we can talk about it this coming week or work through email. All of those are acceptable, and we're open to each and every one of them. So as I said, opening an account is very easy. You'll have on the one side, left side of your screen there, that's what the opening account page looks like. You'll select the account type. It could be more than one if you want to open up a TFSA and an RRSP. And it won't matter whether that's an account, whether you're going to be using new funds or not. That's where you'll go to select that. Or on the right-hand side, you can just, after you get this presentation in PDF format, you can just simply click there and it'll take you right to our booking page on our website, which is pretty easy to migrate through. Either way, our promise to you, as we said right off the get-go, is to hold your hand every step of the way, and that's what we want to do. Our level of service and our commitment to you to conclude this and open this account is every bit as strong as any company that I've ever seen. Now, when we talk about opening the account, step one, we have a dealer authorization form. You will see that dealer authorization form. Just basically, again, it connects you with us and Questrade so that we can facilitate this purchase on your behalf. And a very important point here that I want to make sure that we're looking at: we never ever have access to your account. We cannot just indirectly take hold of it and make purchase decisions. The best thing about this Questrade account is not only can you own physical gold and silver, but if you have additional funds in this account, you can also trade other assets. You can buy stock, mutual funds, bonds, and other types of investments. You can qualify for margin. You can get additional spending power. There are all kinds of options as a side effect that are benefits of opening up this account. But at no time will myself or any of my partners or my team have access to your account without your permission. And all we can see on our end is what your holdings are. Making that purchase is a recorded call, which we take very seriously. And when we put this into place, you'll be there every step of the way. We just put you on hold, get our price, add the product, and then we let you know exactly what happened. And funding your account, when you go there, there are numerous ways to fund your account. We talked about the two main ways to do it, which is existing money or new money, and either is perfectly fine. But either way, when it comes to putting funds into your account, there are a few options there. So please take some time to look at that, and we can help you through that funding process. If it means you're bringing funds in from another institution, have us on the phone there with you. We'll walk through it every step of the way with you and get it done, or help you to open the account right there and then. And as always, this is a free process. We don't charge anything to open an account, nor would we ever think of that. That's just our expertise and our guidance. And we're just hoping that you have a good, easy experience and that you feel good about this. And we'll be there every step of the way. Now, step three, make your purchase. As I said, once we've done all those things, we have to make a purchase. When you make a purchase, what you can expect is that the gold and silver will be added to your account, and then you will get subsequently an inventory report, which will show what your holdings are. In addition, logging into your account will give you and provide you a dashboard for your account. You'll see what your holdings are. You'll see everything that you have in your account, just like a regular trading account. And obviously, when you make that purchase, we'll want to review that with you at some point down the road. Generally speaking, all purchases during the course of a month get their inventory reports in the first, second week of the next month. We'll send those out to you and you'll have those as well. And that's it. So when we come to the end of it, everybody's going to ask, well, what does it cost? Well, we went through the cost of a bar, but we want to take it a step further. In knowing how to be successful, you need and require transparency. the biggest thing lacking in your investment portfolio in this day and age right now is transparency. How come I can't get a monthly report that shows what it cost me to invest, what my fees were, what the commission was, all that stuff? And quite frankly, we want to change that. We want to make it mainstream, and we want to bring back to the fold the way it used to be, which was a simple report which breaks down all this for you. And so this slide, which is available in the PDF, we'll send out after. It's also incorporated in the dealer authorization form. There is no fine print. There you go. It is $19.95 per transaction. That's a fee that Questrade charges. We can't get around that. And it is $2 per bar where the serial numbers are available. If we want our serial numbers or not, it depends on the product that is available to us at the time. We'll let you know there. And then storage fee, 1.25% of the total metal per year, and it's charged on a monthly basis. If you're migrating a new an account over from another existing institution, or if you're putting new funds into an account with us, we only ever spend 97% of the dollars available to us. We always hold back 3% for storage. That way you never have to worry about it. And quite frankly, we can set up a secondary account where those fees can be taken out of without impacting the RRSP contributions or the TFSA contributions. So it's really quite straightforward. It doesn't cost a whole lot, and that insurance pays for your, that storage fee pays for your insurance and for all of the different aspects of the inventory and things that we do for you. So that is something we want to be transparent about, and we want you to know and be able to see that and account for it in what you're doing when you're taking into consideration what you want to buy. So we've come almost to the end here. Rob, is there any more pertinent polls before I explain our little giveaway here?
Yeah, we can ask a couple more questions here.
Let's do that.
So the next one is for those that own any type of fund, are you able to name more than 50% of the companies?
Okay.
So I'll start that right now, and you can just click on your answer.
All right. And while we're here, for those of you that actually go ahead and open up an account, whether it's today, tomorrow, this week, and then make a funds transfer and make your first purchase. Once your first purchase is completed, along with your inventory report, we're going to send home a very important book. And this book talks about three things. It's written by an investment industry expert named E.B. Tucker, and he really shows people the inside of the gold market. It's a three-part in the book. It's Why Gold, Why Now, and the Gold Market How-To Manual. And he'll talk about the difference between gold and silver. He'll talk about the difference between bar types and coins and all of these things, as well as a good overall discussion about the industry and how we expect and see the industry going is very similar. So it's a very, very pertinent book to read. And we'll include that free with any new account, and we'll continue to do that for you once you've made your first purchase.
Okay, so we have the results here.
Okay, Rob?
66% of people are not able to name more than 50%.
Okay, well, that's coming in more along the lines of what I see. Generally speaking, when we do this, it's usually a bit higher than that even still. But hopefully we're going to get some additional level of education, and you'll know where your silver and gold is. So hopefully we'll be able to get that. Rob, the 10-ounce bar again for me, if you don't mind. Stay tuned for this, because this will be something that's coming up very shortly, very soon. If you're already a Twitter follower, I would say you've seen it. But if not, get on our social realm: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Be watching for the contest. We give these away, and we do it because we're happy to connect with you. We think it's a valuable way to showcase what the product is, and we'd love for our clients to get this product. The last person to get this was a gentleman out in the Yukon, I believe. Rob, was it?
Yep.
And he's extremely happy. And in fact, beside me, we just sent his tracking information there on that winning. So he'll be getting that 10-ounce bar very shortly. We'll have another one coming up. And in addition to that, Rob, any other poll questions that we're going to ask?
Yeah, we'll ask one more here. So what's most important to you in an investment?
Okay, that's a multiple choice, and you can answer one or more of those things, and that'll give some insight on what you think is most important to you. Not all of the answers will be there, but there are a select few that we want to try. And while you're doing that, I'll remind you, I said earlier in the presentation that, in fact, currency devaluation was a big problem, money printing. And if we had a long time today and we don't, I'd go into it. But I want to remind you anecdotally what it's like to have to pay back $1 trillion. Now, when we look at that in terms of the world debt, we're looking at, gosh, I think it's 600 trillion, something like that. It's approaching 1 quadrillion if we look into things that are lying ahead that we haven't quite seen yet. And I don't know how the world is going to get through another 5, 6, 7 years without crisis. There's going to be some pain. We're going to have to be diversified. But to give you some sense of it, if we look at a 40-year stretch and we wanted to save with 0 interest, no compounding effect whatsoever, it would take to save $1 million over 40 years, it would take $480 per week at 0 interest over 40 years. To save $100 million over 40 years, it would take $48,000 per week, every single week for 40 years. 1 billion would be $480,000 every single week for 40 years at 0 interest, and 1 trillion over 40 years. If we wanted to save $1 trillion over 40 years, we'd have to put $480 million into the bank every single week at 0 interest in order to equate to $1 trillion. So if you're like me and you're thinking about what the near term holds, uncertainty is certainly the topic du jour. Rob, the results from that?
Sure. So we have what's most important to you in an investment. 70% said gains, 20% said stability of the investment, and 10% said level of risk.
All right. Well, we're going to open up the floor to questions and hopefully provide some answers. I will leave you with this: that certainly in this day and age, there is a lot happening, and we're uncertain about what the near term holds. It's the first time ever in my entire journey through precious metals that I've been so uncertain about what the next 4 or 5 years holds. If you look at our social, watch what I put up on Instagram, and Rob and I share this all the time, you'll see that we are writing in a style which is certainly not normal. We are offering our opinion about this nonsense that's going on in the world, and certainly want you to be part of that and express your concerns and your feelings about it as well, because I know we're emotional. Our money is important to us, and the importance of us having good quality assets like gold and silver means that we're putting those into effect for ourselves and allowing ourselves to sleep at night knowing we're making money. Rich dad, poor dad. I mean, do you want to work for your money, or do you want your money to work for you? By owning good quality hard assets, you could be part of the 10% of the population that make 90% of the money. It's that simple. And knowing that education and having that education means holding gold and silver in your portfolio. So Rob, let's go to the next slide. Thank everybody for their time. And can we see questions and answers now, Rob? Can we open up the floor to questions and answers?
So we have a question from Roy. What happens to my metals if Questrade goes bankrupt?
Okay, Roy, that's a good question. It's a very important point to make, and that answer is pretty simple. Your metals are in your name, so the government, under the watchful eye of IROC, the certified branch of the federal government that has oversight on physical commodities, would come in and take those physical assets, and then they would start up a new storage partner, and then your assets would be placed back into storage. And again, they'd have to come up with some new storage plan. But again, your assets are 100% insured and protected. Nobody can touch them, and it matters not whether Delta exists, Questrade, or IDS, the storage facility. Your metals are your metals in your name. They are not in a company's name. They are not under some pooled account. None of that happens here at Delta. Those are your metals in your name, in your registered account. But it's a great question. So hopefully that answered that for you. Any other questions, Rob?
That's it for now. But if anyone wants to ask a question, we're here and we're open.
All right, let's go over here, Rob. I'm going to bring up my screen for a second. Okay, we're on the poll questions. You can still see me. All right, so I'm just going to get rid of the poll question here for a second. We're in question and answers, right? Okay. All right, perfect. Well, that keeps it pretty simple for us. I want to remind everybody that you have the opportunity to connect with us via bookings. We will send this through via email to you. And okay, here you go. We have another question. The question is, do you take care of customers living in other provinces? Yes, it doesn't matter where you live. In fact, as long as you hold Canadian citizenship, you can be anywhere in the world. Our clients do include expats around the world that still have Canadian status. They might be snowbirds when COVID ends. They might be living somewhere else because of work. We do have a few accounts for people that are ambassadors and things of that nature. So that's important. We want to do that. And essentially, those are options as well. And then basically we can look towards that, and we can comfortably say that as a Canadian, you can be anywhere in the world and invest with Delta in your registered account so long as you have that. Sorry, it's on the last. I'll bring it to the last slide. Any other questions at this time?
That wraps it up.
Excellent. So without further ado, I'll thank you for your time. We're here and we're happy to take bookings. We're going to send out a PDF after this. Rob, thanks for your support. And everybody that attended, thank you for attending. I'm going to leave you with a little saying from a favorite economist of mine. He's a famous financier. His name is Bernard Baruch. And he said once that knowledge plus action equals profit. But knowledge without action equals failure. And so with that in mind, taking the next step is easy. If we can be of support to you, we'd be happy to do that for you. Gold and silver are fantastic right now. They're in a super buying range, and we'd love to have you part of this group at Delta. So thank you for your time. Thank you for attending, and we want to wish you a happy weekend. Everybody stay healthy, stay happy, and hopefully prosperous. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks very much.